Saving America one entrepreneur at a time, it's the Biz Rap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan. The show that celebrates small business and entrepreneurs, it's Biz Rap Radio with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan. And welcome to another edition of Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan here, and this, of course, is the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. We're here to help you run your small business, give you ideas, strategies, and concepts that you can implement right now today to be a more effective entrepreneur or small business owner. One of the big issues that I've seen over and over in my career is people who get involved in business, well, whether they be through partnerships, joint venture arrangements, or actually forming corporations together, or even just forming close alliances and relationships with people that turn out to be the wrong kind of people to do business with. And I can tell you a personal story about that. I had a partnership some years ago in a small business I was running, and after I started the partnership, I noticed some very strange behavior on the part of my partner. And I turned out that the reason he had strange behavior is because he was quite a heavy drug user, and whenever he was using drugs heavily, he, of course, would make rather bizarre decisions, and even got to the stage where he thought competitors were spying on us, and then finally the whole thing culminated in one night when he went home and beat the heck out of his wife and was hauled off and arrested and thrown in jail. So I had a bad experience. I wish I'd known how to vet the people that I was doing business with. Well, I'm so lucky today. I've got on the line, I've got Justin and Tonya Recla, and they actually have a business, and that's exactly what they do. They can help us vet the people we do business. Justice and Tonya, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us.
Now, did I describe accurately what you guys actually do?
Oh, absolutely. That was a great story you shared. We hear those stories all the time. Every speaking event we go to, networking event, anytime anybody hears what we do, everybody's got a story about giving money to the wrong person, bringing the wrong person into their business. So that was a really great example of how powerful doing some due diligence and vetting is.
And every one of those stories, Mike, starts the same way. Where were you 6 months ago? Where were you $50,000 ago before I got involved with such and such?
Exactly. So, okay, so what exactly, and I want to talk tell us a little bit about your background, because I find this very interesting. The information I have here says you're former government agents. Were you like spies or like James Bond, or what did you guys do?
Well, according to the Army recruiters, that's exactly what we were. But no, we ended up, my part in that was I was a government counterintelligence agent, and I did both investigations as well as surveillance. So I handled chasing spies, if you will, on the strategic side of things.
And my experience is mainly on the tactical side over in Iraq and Afghanistan, supporting the intelligence gathering mission from the human perspective, human sources of information that provided us with information so our troops could stay safe.
Now, did you ever get to like wear a tuxedo and go to like one of those casinos in Monte Carlo like James Bond does?
Well, Mike, we could tell you, but we'd have to kill you.
Okay, so you obviously have a lot of experience at investigating and at what is going on, and so now you've translated that into basically doing something similar that would allow me as a business person to kind of check out, if you will, the people I'm going to do business with.
Absolutely. Well, we'll tell you a quick little story about that. When we went into the business sector, we left the government sector thinking that we were going to be corporate trainers because we had all of this really amazing training from the government, and we saw the transferability into business. And when we started going through business circles, we had business owners really asking us to do for them what we had done for the government. And we kept telling them no. We said, no, we're done with that. We're out of that line of work. We just want to train some people. And they kept asking, and we finally gave in and did a single job. And I remember, we laugh about it now, we told the guy, we said, we'll do this for you, but don't tell anyone. We'll do it one time. And what we uncovered in that was so alarming. We just had no idea some of the, unfortunately, some of the fraudulent activities that was happening in business, and the fact that business owners really had no idea how to vet people. There was nothing in place for business-to-business transactions like the employment sector has its own screening process, but business-to-business had just never really had any kind of process in place. And so when we started playing with that and had success after success of uncovering stuff, that's when we really saw that there was a need within small business in particular to offer these services.
So if I'm thinking about doing business with somebody, I come to you, how much information on that person do I need?
Well, we actually have a self-disclosure form that you can provide to the person you're getting involved with that outlines the specific information that you should verify before you get involved with that person. And, if that person is unwilling to provide you with that information, we call that an indicator. It's probably somebody that you don't want to be getting in business with.
So, and now is that like a form that you provide, like the business person used to say, hey, you need to get the other person to complete this form, or you need to get this particular information from that other person?
Well, what we do is we educate business owners. We absolutely, first and foremost, will advocate for a fully transparent process. And so we do coach and consult and advise business owners on how you go into that, how you tell this person, I have a due diligence process that I have in place, and, I'd really like to do business with you. Do you mind answering some questions for us? And really educating them, because what we find is that a lot of business owners have fear around that. They don't want the person to think that they don't trust them, or they don't really know how to handle those conversations. And so we have a couple of tools. We have worksheets that will actually walk you through questions that you can ask right up front, simple questions that are phrased in a way that collects information that is verifiable. That's the biggest issue that we see with business owners, is that they'll ask questions like, they'll be interviewing like a website designer, and they'll say something like, so have you built a lot of websites? Which of course the response is going to be yes, but you really don't have information that you can cross-check. And so if you reframe the question and say, how many of these websites have you designed? Now you've got something that you can go back on and verify later. And so we train them first to go through the worksheet, and then once they've decided that this person looks like a good fit for their business, the final step of that is to ask them to fill out a self-disclosure form. And what we like about that is that it is a totally transparent form, and it lets you know how forthcoming that person is being with you. And if they balk at doing that, if they don't want to do that, or if they have some issues with it, then that may be an indicator that they're not a good fit for your business.
Yeah, that would be a pretty good sign. If you ask some specific pointed questions, and I guess one of the problems is we're as small business people, a lot of us don't really know what the questions are. But if you ask specific pointed questions and the person you're wanting to do business with refuses to answer those questions or refuses to provide the information you're asking for, that is probably a pretty good indicator that the person is hiding something, because otherwise why wouldn't they just be forthcoming?
Exactly, and a lot of times you'll get a service provider or somebody they want to do business with that'll say, well, all that information is on my website. Well, guess who built that website? That service provider. So, that's not the best way to vet somebody. Well, how do you know that they can do that? Well, it says they can do that on their website. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can, and you have to go beyond those kind of conversations. You got to ask what we call the hard questions in order to get the information that you need in order to be able to verify whether or not that person's a good fit for your business or not.
Okay, well, let's hold that thought. It's Mike Manahan, your host, BizRap Radio. I'm on with Justin and Tonya Dawn Recla, who are due diligence specialists, and we will be back right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. Of course, we are the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. And we've got on the line Justin and Tonya Dawn Recla. These are Army veterans, former government agents who have a business that can help you vet the people that you are doing business with. And again, Justin and Tonya, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks, Mike. We're happy to be here.
Thanks, Mike.
Now, if somebody is interested perhaps in using your services, they're going to enter into a business transaction, a partnership, form a corporation, maybe even hire a senior executive or somebody to work with them, and they want to vet that person, how can they get a hold of you and find out more about your services?
They can go to Avantgarde. It's AVENT-GUARD.com. That's our website, and from there we have a free manual on there that they can download, which kind of introduces them to the process. We have an easy 3-step process that we advocate business owners use, and there's tips and tricks in there that they can implement immediately into their business.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Now, and it just, I want to encourage listeners because, I know a lot of them will hear something, particularly on my show, but on other shows as well, and they'll think, hey, I'm tight on money. I don't have the resources to use that particular service. But almost everybody today who runs some kind of a small business service directed at small businesses, typically has materials on their website. It's not going to be the full-blown service, but they'll have ideas, thoughts, whether it's downloads, white papers, audio files, even video files on their website that can give you lots of ideas. And you don't have to pay for those. Then once you've looked at that material, if you think, hey, maybe this is something I want to take to the next level, then you can obviously make a phone call or an email inquiry, but take advantage of the free materials. There's so much free material out there that can at least give you a head start and give you a better understanding about the things that you should do. And almost every guest that we have on BizRap Radio has something on their website that would be of value to a small business person, an entrepreneur, that you can access for nothing. So go to these websites, check them out. Don't just say, hey, my budget's tight right now, probably don't have the money to hire somebody, so I won't bother doing anything. Again, if you're going to get into a business relationship with somebody, you're concerned about it, go to Avantgarde, that's AVENT, -GUARD.com. Check it out. So, Justin and Tonya, is there any quick ideas you could give to our listening audience about something they might do themselves if they are thinking about getting into a business relationship with somebody?
Absolutely. The one thing that we absolutely advocate for is always asking for references. And people kind of balk at that, and they say, well, isn't the person just going to give us the name of someone who likes them? And we say, absolutely, but that doesn't mean that you can't gather information from them. And so you want to ask for references, and you want to call those references. And when you talk with those references, there's 2 extremely important questions you want to ask them. If you learn nothing else from us today, get your pens out and write this down. The first question you want to ask them is, why might somebody tell me not to work with this person? And what that does is it opens the door to a face-saving way that if this person thinks that there's an issue there, they're going to say, well, I wouldn't tell you this, but so-and-so may say this, or you may hear this, because they're going to want to be intrinsically honest with you. And the second question that you ask is you ask them for the name of somebody that you can talk to. So you're getting a second reference from them. And again, that opens the door. If there's something about this service provider that they don't want to be the ones to tell you, but they think you should know, they're probably going to give you the name of somebody who will tell you.
That is such a great idea, and I just love that because I've kind of been in that situation myself. I know somebody, a little hesitant. I mean, I may have even worked with the person in the past, and maybe for whatever reason I can handle the person's quirkiness or personality or what have you, but I would really be concerned about other people working with them. I don't want to badmouth that person. But I might very well say, well, you need to talk to this person over here, talk to George, and George might give you a kind of different perspective than I'm giving you. So that is an excellent idea. It's like asking for an additional reference from the reference. And I understand the concept completely. I'll be honest with you, I never thought about that one, so I've actually learned something today. That is absolutely great. But let's say, okay, somebody, they do their own kind of checking and they're still worried. How does your service actually work? How do they engage you? What does it cost? How long does it take? And what do you typically deliver?
Well, we've actually got several ways for people to engage us. The very entry level point is what we call a do-it-yourself due diligence kit, which comes with literally all the resources that you need to be able to perform the due diligence on your own. Everything from the forms that you need, the step-by-step process on how you go about asking the questions, to over 100+ resources that you can use to actually verify the information. If the do-it-yourself piece is not for you, then we actually have a monthly membership vetting service that we do, depending on what level of engagement you're getting involved with people. We offer a silver, gold, platinum package. That's where we do the vetting for you on a monthly basis, and you provide us with the names of the people that you're getting involved with. We provide you with the forms, and once you get the forms back to us, we do all the digging, all the searching, all the vetting, and an initial assessment of the information we find to gauge whether or not that person fits within your risk aversion level. So there's multiple ways people can engage us, and then all that information can be found on the website. And above and beyond that, if you're in full revenue and you've got a really mature business, people can engage us to where they literally make us a part of their team, and we serve as their right-hand man and that protection barrier to where we're evaluating and assessing existing relationships and any type of new relationship that's established for the business. Okay,
that's fantastic. So give us the website once again, Justin.
It's aventguard.com, AVENT-GUARD.com.
Okay, aventguard.com. Absolutely fabulous. Now, if you're a small business person, if you're an entrepreneur, I hate to say this because I think fundamentally that most business people out there are honest, but it doesn't matter whether you're talking about the factory floor or the boardroom. There are people who are unethical, immoral, and or outright crooks out there, and you've got to protect yourselves from these people. You can have all the laws in the world, but when they've taken you for a ride and you're out $50, $100, $200, or more $1,000, it's often extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get any of that back. And having a great deal of experience with what we would call white-collar crimes of this sort, for the most part, the government's not even interested in prosecuting them. If you get ripped off by a business partner, who takes you for a ride for $200,000 or $300,000, the chances of even getting anybody from law enforcement to even listen to you is almost negligible. I mean, it's just it's almost like these people have a free ride to do what they do, and very often you find the people who do this, once you look into their background, they've done it over and over and over again. They're not what you call first-time offenders, if you will. So you really want to check out the people that you are doing business with. Justin and Tonya, They are the people you should be contacting. Their website is avantgarde.com. Check them out. Any final thoughts for the audience before we go to break?
I do. I want to add on to that quickly. And one of the things that we find, too, is it's not so much even that people have fraudulent intent, though we do uncover that, unfortunately. But sometimes the person's just not a good fit for your business. It may not be the right time. We see people hiring people out of sequence all the time. So they've invested $20,000 into somebody, and their business isn't ready to use them. And so part of it is being really clear on what this person can do for your business, and is it a good fit for your business right then. We love to tell people, we help you figure out if people are who they say they are and if they can do what they say they can do. And so it's not, the person may have the best intentions in the world, but that doesn't mean that they're a good fit for your business at that particular moment.
Okay, well, those are great thoughts. It is, again, BizRap Radio, your host, Michael Manahan, and we had Justin and Tonya Don Recla of avantgarde.com talking about due diligence and how you need to vet the people you're doing business with. That's it for this segment. We'll be back right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. We are, of course, the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. And today we've been talking about due diligence, how you vet the people that you're going to do business with so you make sure you're not doing business with the wrong people. It's not just whether they might have, perhaps bad backgrounds, be criminals, but they might just be a bad fit for you at this particular stage of your business. And you really need to check out the people that you are going to do business with. And we've got on the line with us Justin and Tonya Don Recla of avantgarde.com. And Tonya, you were saying that you could maybe relate a story or two about some of the experiences you've had with people who've made, I guess, the wrong decision about who they get, I'll use this euphorically, who they get in bed with.
Absolutely. I'm going to let Justin handle that.
We actually had a client come to us who was looking at getting involved with an individual for a particular project. And so they came to us, they had the individual fill out all the forms, and we dug and dug and dug, and we couldn't find anything on this individual. He appeared to be fairly squeaky clean, which to us is, people always have some sort of footprint somewhere, whether it's good, bad, negative, or otherwise. So we went down what we call a rabbit hole, and we looked into one of the references, because this guy had listed a friend of his, somebody that he had been in business with, as a reference, and we started looking there. And within 5-10 minutes of us looking, we found that the reference ended up having multiple derogatory information on him, to the point where he even had the individual was a lawyer, and he had a case against him that had made it all the way up to the United States Supreme Court.
Wow.
He had been disbarred. He had been, he lost his law license and so forth. And so for us, that was an automatic indicator of, okay, the individual our client was looking into was squeaky clean, but the person that he was involved with had some very shady business practices. And so we went back, we took that information back to our client, and our client asked, well, is it possible that, my guy doesn't know? By all means, there's a good chance that he had no idea. But then that even raises even more questions. This is an individual that the person did business with for 20-some-odd years. Why doesn't he know?
Absolutely.
So by bringing that person into your business now, you're now associating yourself by third party with this other individual that's got a shady background, and then the person you're getting involved with may not necessarily have anything bad on him, but he's done business with somebody that has, and we don't know what that other person's intentions are, and how that's going to affect your business.
Yeah, plus, if you've done business with somebody for 20 years and you don't know a little bit about that person's character and kind of that person's reputation, I'd be worried about you, because you clearly aren't investigative enough or curious enough to know anything about the people you do business with. I mean, my gosh, a 20-year business relationship, you can find out an awful, you learn just through association an awful lot about a person. And this guy not to know anything it's either ingenuous or the guy's really a bit clued out.
Or and even more so even more importantly is what are the chances that the person you're bringing in that's got nothing on him is going to refer you to his buddy's businesses, his buddy's opportunities, and so forth, and now that puts your business at risk.
And unfortunately, we're seeing that in a lot of cases where there are some of these folks who have, like you said, they're serial infiltrators into small businesses, and they've started to get some bad raps because of that. So now they're using people who have crystal clean reputations as their front runners. And if and I know this sounds all kind of super spy, James Bond-ish, but it's happening in the business world. And even if it's just small sums of money, if they make enough of it, that's a pretty lucrative business that they're in, taking small businesses for their capital. And so, unfortunately, we're starting to see some of those patterns develop.
Yeah, that's really too bad. And I know of some instances as well, and I'm not going to obviously name any names, but in one of the industries that I've done a little bit of work, a gentleman that bankrupt 3 times, can't get a credit card, yet he always manages to con somebody into partnering with him, joint venturing with him, funding him, and it's always somebody that has a reasonable amount of money, never a billionaire, but somebody who's got a little bit of cash, and he sucks $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 out of that new business partner, and of course his next business venture fails just like his last one did, and I've seen this one individual do this at least 4 different times, and I just continually think, why would anybody do that? But apparently those people who lost their money with this gentleman I'm talking about, they should have called you.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And the reason why that's going on is because it's what we call people get involved in these "I love you, you love me" conversations. So we're involved in a lot of networking groups and stuff like that, and we see it happen over and over and over again, where intentionally or not, these people with maybe colored past are going into these situations, and they make friends with people, and everybody loves them, and everything's great, and it all sounds great. Well, nobody bothers to move the conversation into what we call intentional communication, which is where you say, this is great. I really like what you're talking about. It sounds like a good fit for my business. Now I'd like to ask you a few questions just to make sure. And business owners aren't doing that. They're not moving from the romance phase into a real mature business practice. And so that's part of what we're educating small business about is how do you do that, and how do you do it in such a way so that you do protect your business.
Well, and I think there's a balance there too, because I see kind of 2 patterns. I see the people who I would almost call them naive. They believe everything they're told. And then I see on the opposite the people who are so closed-minded, perhaps through some one bad experience that they had, they don't believe anything they're told. And at some point in time, you've got to get over that. You've got to be very suspicious, of course, of what people tell you, particularly if they're making promises or they're bragging about their past. Of course, I live in California, in the Long Beach area, but I'm close enough to Hollywood that you meet an awful lot of people in Los Angeles who they're pretty full of themselves. I mean, they brag about their accomplishments, they brag about the people they know, and when you really dig into it, you find out that they met those well-known people at a cocktail party and they've talked to them once, type of thing. So you got to be suspicious. But on the other hand, when people are coming to you with good ideas and good thoughts, you've got to be open-minded enough to accept those and at least perhaps incorporate them into your way of thinking. So It's not easy stuff. And, of course, one of the best ways to kind of manage this conundrum, if you will, is to bring in somebody who can help you, a third party who can, I guess, what I would say, lend clarity to the process. And that, of course, is exactly what you folks do.
Well, and our favorite saying, Mike, is trust but verify. Ronald Reagan said that back in the 80s, and it's so true, especially in business nowadays. A lot of people don't think about that. They don't move beyond that I love you, you love me conversation. But trust but verify. By all means, stay in that high vibration. Stay in that, hey, this is a great opportunity. But then verify that information. Because in doing such, you're going to save yourself time, you're going to save yourself money, and you're going to just be able to make a determination whether or not that person is truly a good fit for your business.
Okay, well, this is great information from Justin and Tonya Recla of avantgarde.com. And again, their website is avent-guard.com. Go to their website. You can grab some free information off of their website. Justin and Tonya, is there a phone number people can call if they're interested in speaking with you personally?
By all means, they can reach us at 520-508-5548.
Okay, well, look, I really appreciate you joining us today. This has been such a wonderful conversation about how we protect ourselves as business people from the business people that we're doing business with. You need to check people out. Don't go in blindly. There's a lot of unscrupulous people of low moral and ethical character out there. You don't want them in your lives. It's Mike Manahan on Biz Rap Radio, and we will be back right after these messages. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. Thanks so much for sticking with us. It's your host, Michael Manahan. We are the show, of course, all about small business and entrepreneurs. We're here to help you run your business more effectively, give you ideas and strategies that can help you make more money, put more money in your pocket, take care of your customers, do things more efficiently, do things more effectively, perhaps raise capital for your business, or perhaps maneuver through the plethora of government rules and regulations out there that make it just that much more difficult to do business. Now, that's a subject that's very dear to my heart. If we want people to be entrepreneurs, if we want people to start businesses, we have to make it easy for that to happen. I came across a gentleman by the name of Robert Reich. Robert Reich is an author and has a blog. You can check him out at robertreich.org. But what Robert says, he says that all of this talk about job-killing regulations and the damper that all of the rules and regulations we have, that it's really just a big ado about nothing. He said that has nothing to do with what ails America. He said there's really no trade-off between regulations and jobs, and that job-killing regulations is just a silly old phrase that substitutes for real thinking about this stuff. I don't know much about Robert Reich. I don't know what his background is, but I have to say he really is a person who's probably never run a business in his life, and certainly very naive about the reality of the situation. I mean, just as an example, he says there's no trade-off between regulations and jobs. Well, what about minimum wage? Well, there's been study after study that says increasing minimum wages, which is a government regulation, basically ends up in people being terminated. We were mentioning last week on the show about an article that we saw in the Los Angeles Times where somebody wrote in and said if they have to increase their minimum wages to what the city of Los Angeles is proposing, it's going to cost their business $20,000 extra every month, and that will wipe out their entire profits. So this idea that rules and regulations don't affect business is ridiculous. And of course, what a lot of observers from the outside, people who are not small business people and entrepreneurs who don't run businesses, what they often fail to see is it's not one regulation. It's thousands of regulations. There's city regulations, county regulations, state regulations, and federal regulations. All of these regulations, one piled on top of each other. I know here in the city of Long Beach, where I have my studios, the building I'm in it's an older building, and a company has bought it and wants to refurbish the building. They have to get not only approval from the city's planning department, they've got to get approval from the fire department, they've got to get approval from the historic society, they have to get approval from the coastal commission, they have to get approval from the county. I mean, there's more approvals than you can imagine needed. Permits, and then absolutely bizarre rules and regulations we're forced to deal with. I just was reading an article about the governments in various cities are now shutting down businesses being run by children. Remember the old days we would have hot dog stands or lemonade stands out front of our houses, kind of a neighborhood thing. The kids would get together and they'd open up a hot dog stand or a lemonade stand. I did that when I was a kid. My parents used to grow vegetables in the backyard, and I would take and harvest those vegetables, and I'd put a little table on the front street and I'd sell my vegetables. Well, now, in many cities around the United States, they're shutting down lemonade stands and hot dog stands. So you got to have expensive permits and compliance with all manner of health regulation. I know when I was a teenager, one of the things we did for fundraising purposes is we held car washes. Well, my daughter, a few years back, her group at school was doing a fundraiser, and they had a car wash, and sure enough, some city officials came and shut them down because they didn't have the appropriate permits to hold a weekend car wash. Now, this has got to be absolutely ridiculous. I just read in the internet that an Oregon man was thrown in jail for collecting rainwater. Yes, you can't even collect rainwater on your own property in Oregon without having all of the various permits and other applications needed, or you are going to go to the slammer. This is ridiculous, and obviously Robert Reich has really not been reading up on what regulations are really out there and how much they do affect us. The World Bank Group came out with a very, very detailed survey, a lot of analysis done on this to rank various different countries on the ease of doing business in those countries. And looking at their most recent publication here off of their website, the United States ranks 20th amongst nations in terms of the ease with which you can start a business. New Zealand, Canada, Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong, even Armenia all rank ahead of the United States. And if you're not creating new businesses, if you're making it more difficult for people to enter into the business arena, then you are stymieing the economy. There's just no question about it. That's the way it works. If you're not creating businesses, you're hurting the economy, and you, of course, are not creating jobs if you're not creating businesses. The United States ranks 34th among nations in terms of dealing with construction permits, 25th among nations in terms of registering property. Now, it's amazing. Our neighbors to the north, Canada, their economy has been doing extremely well. They've done much better through the recession than the United States has, and they rank number 2 in terms of starting a new business, while we rank number 20th. Is that maybe a signal that we should be making it a little easier to start businesses? And talking about government regulation, one of the things that's always a concern about business people is how long do you have to keep records? Because you're going to be audited at some point in time. The IRS is going to come knocking on your door, try to extort some money from you. State of California, we've got the California Franchise Tax Board. They're the same way. They're trying to fill the government's coffers, and they're after you. So you have to keep your records, and there's a group of records that most companies have, the personnel records. That's the records of your employees and how much they make and things like that. Many of the records that you have for your personnel must be kept permanently. Yeah, no, I'm not talking 3 or 4 years. I'm not talking 10 years. I'm talking permanently. As an example, an application for employment must be kept permanently. All records of changes in salary and position must be kept permanently. Performance evaluations must be kept permanently. Awards to employees must be kept permanently. Now think about it. Think of companies that have hundreds of, tens of thousands of employees, there must be warehouses full of documents that these companies are required to keep. And permanently, 50 years, do you really need the records of somebody who was hired 50 years ago? Isn't there any such thing as a statute of limitations or even common sense? And of course, the worst thing about these rules and regulations is even if it doesn't make any difference, if they come in and find out you may not have kept one of these records permanently, then you could be subject to all sorts of fines and penalties. They come in, they open up your filing cabinet. Hey, you hired some guy 10 years ago. He's still on your payroll. You've never had a problem with him, but for some reason, his application of employment isn't there. Who knows what happened to it? You're a small business. Well, you know what? You could be fined. You could be penalized. It's just unbelievable what could happen to you. So our friend Robert Reich, well, he doesn't seem to think that all of this matters, but it's a cumulative effect. What he doesn't understand is it's a mindset. If you make it difficult for people to do business, they will get discouraged. They'll be less likely to start businesses. There will be more business failures, more business problems, and people will throw up their hands and say, you want to know what? It's just not worth it. That's human nature. What they never seem to take into account when they produce all of these rules and regulations is human nature and the way we as people think. But the fact is we get discouraged, and when people get discouraged, they don't do what you want them to do. That's just why people drop out of the job market. We've been talking about how many people drop out of the job market. They're not even looking for jobs anymore. Why? They're discouraged. They've given up. And if you have entrepreneurs and business people giving up, it's not a good thing for the economy. It's not just a matter of getting rid of regulations. It's making business people champions. They are the drivers of our economy. They are the people who create jobs. We need to support them. Well, that's all the time we have this week for BizRap Radio, so check us out at bizrapradio.com. It's BizRap Radio, fixing America through individual economic freedom. I am your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for listening.